Good morning, everyone. My name is Dhananjay Kumar, and I work as developer evangelist for Infragistics. Today, in this webinar, we are going to talk about how we can create an enterprise Angular apps using Ignite UI. So, my introduction is my name is Dhananjay Kumar. I work as developer evangelist for Infragistics. I'm a Microsoft MVP as well. And if you have any queries related to this webinar or any of our Ignite UI related product queries, you can write me email on dkumar@infragistics.com. And if you're on Twitter, you can tweet me as well at debug_mode. So before we move ahead and see a lot of code, let us understand what is Ignite UI. So Ignite UI is a JavaScript jQuery based library offering from Infragistics, which helps you to quickly build fast performance web applications. It is a complete JavaScript component library which gives you ability to build data-rich responsive web apps either in Angular framework or React framework in ASP.NET MVC using Bootstrap or Knockout. So you can work with Ignite UI in any of framework like Angular, React, ASP.NET MVC, etc. Uh, Ignite UI has two flavors. First, Ignite UI for JavaScript, which is essentially a jQuery-based library. So, for example, if you are working with ASP.NET MVC and on your view, you want to have those rich UI controls like grid, data visualization charts, and other controls, what you can do, you can use Ignite UI for JavaScript. You can add Ignite UI for JavaScript ASP.NET MVC wrapper in your project and can start working with that. If you are working with a pure HTML5 bootstrap based application, in that also you can add Ignite UI for JavaScript, which is a jQuery library. Uh, Seeing popularity of Angular, what we have done, we have started uh, creating another variation of Ignite UI, which is called Ignite UI for Angular. Uh, Basically, Ignite UI for Angular is a Angular material-based native Angular components. So there is no external dependency on any other library but Angular and Angular material in Ignite UI for Angular native components. So these are the two variations. If you want to use Ignite UI for JavaScript, you can. This is a jQuery library. You can just add it as a wrapper in any kind of project, whether it's React or Angular or ASP.NET MVC. However, if you are building an Angular application and if you prefer native components, you can go with Ignite UI for Angular. Uh, so Ignite UI for Angular has so far more than 30 components, and we are working hard and we are adding more and more components. Uh, so when I created this slide, it was like a few days back, and while at that time we had 30 components, now I'm sure we have more. And as you see on your screen, these are the components we do have, which are like data grid, list viewed, slider, ripple, carousel, layout manager, etc., calendar, date picker. So and all these are Angular material-based native components which you can add in your, which you can directly add in your project. Uh, we are also coming up with something called Ignite UI CLI, which mainly helps you to build your application, to scaffold your application faster. So if you are starting a new project and you really don't want to get into that loop of adding many dependencies, many libraries and all, you can very quickly use our Ignite UI. You can use Ignite UI CLI to quickly scaffold an application. It creates a project structure for you. It adds views like views with Ignite UI components like combo, grid, chart. You can just run a command and that would be added to your project. It can add scenario-based templates with multiple components like dashboard, etc. Uh, it builds and install npm packages for you. It helps you to select themes, and of course custom themes are coming soon too. Ignite UI CLI, you can build either Angular or jQuery or React application using Ignite UI CLI. I'll walk you through that, how you can use Ignite UI CLI. So today, our slide is done. Today we do have this demo, which I'm going to show you that how you can create, how you can use Ignite UI CLI, how you can add IGX grid in a project, how you can work with REST API, then how you can work with enabling sorting, paging, filtering features in grid, and working with large set of data. So since purpose of today webinar is how we can build an enterprise application, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to focus only on IGX Grid, which is a very powerful component which allows you to display your data and work with your data in a tabular form. IGX Grid is very powerful. It can work with multiple with large set of data. It has features like pagination, sorting, uh, virtualization, column templating, column freezing, a custom header template, custom pagination template, etc. And today we are going to see all of them through code, at how easy to work with that. So before I move ahead, let me walk you through this our page, our website for our Ignite UI components. So if you go to infragistics.com, there you have option of developers. In that you have two options: Ignite UI for Angular and Ignite UI for JavaScript, which we just talked. When you click on Ignite UI for Angular, it takes you to Ignite UI for Angular page, and here you see that it has all the information about all the components. It has information about our Angular roadmap. You can download and learn about Angular in our free Angular ebook, and all that. Uh, a certain version, certain components of Ignite UI for Angular is open source as well. However, if you want support and all the components, you got to buy it, which is right pricing over there. If you want to learn more about a particular component, just click there. Let us say if I want to learn about data grid, I can go here and it says that these are the like all those features of data grid, how you can work with them. And it's a very descriptive documentation which helps you to work with, to get along with these components. Like this demo which is running, you can right click here and run it on StackBlitz. If you are new to, if you have not heard about StackBlitz, that is a very cool online IDE which allows you to run your Angular application without installing and doing anything. So here you can see that application which you just saw is running in StackBlitz, and in the live you can go here and do changes in the code, and it will get reflected. Uh, so this is all about how, from where you can get information. Before I move ahead, let me show you something, that how powerful is Ignite UI Grid. So here you see that we have we are just creating some sampler on Ignite UI Grid, and where we have we have shown different scenarios. So for example, if you go to this Vita stock prices, it shows you that how different theme, you can work with the different theme in grid. If I go to banking accounts, here it is showing you that that how you can have different action buttons and pagination, etc. Then if you go to share plus, it will show you that how SharePoint type of list type of UI experience you can get with IG Grid. Then if I go to banking accounts, again this has we have already seen that if I go to people, you see that people has this has multiple records. And what is good about here in this demo, in this particular example, I wish to show you that right now when this grid got loaded, it has 100 of rows. Uh, let us say I want to go and say that, hey, I want 100,000 rows. So what I have done, I have just dragged that slider. Now I want that here it should be more than 100 rows, like 100,000 rows. And what I'm going to do, I have just dragged a slider, say that rebind the grid. And now you can see the experience here that as soon as I click here, now your grid has more than, has 100,000 grid, and it has happened in just flick of second. And here you see that you have grid. So by default, if you set the height property of your grid and you don't have pagination enabled, by default, vertical virtualization is enabled on IGX grid. If time permits, I'll show you that how I'll walk you through code of this application as well. Next, if I go to this adapt table blotter, so what it is doing, it is bringing data from API, and here it will, like I can select any different type of financial data source, and it should display me that data. It shows that it has 1200 rows and 20 columns, and this is like on the fly. We are regenerating the grid with which is talking to external REST API and creating and binding different data source. So I'll at the end of this, I'll share this URL with you also. This is also hosted on StackBliss, so you can go around and walk through the code and everything. And all this was created using Ignite UI CLI, and of course I wrote some code to change this data source and all. So what I'm going to do today, first I'll start with Ignite UI CLI, that how you can work with Ignite UI CLI. So Ignite UI CLI is on the GitHub. You can go here, github.com/igniteui/Ignite UI CLI, and you can start reading the documentation and get going. So step one, you got to install Ignite UI CLI on your machine. Once that is done, let me show you that how easy it is after that. So here I am on, so if you can see my screen, I'm on a command prompt, and let me go and say here, hey, MD IG Live. I just created a folder called MD IG Live. And here I'm saying I'm inside that particular folder. Already I had installed Ignite UI CLI on my machine, so I'm not going to reinstall it. But to work with Ignite UI CLI, you got to install. You need to make sure that that is installed on your machine. Once that is installed, when you run this command IG, it should not give you that error. It should not give you that error that it's external command or bad command. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a new Angular application very quickly using Ignite UI CLI. So I repeat what I'm going to do here. I'm going to create a new Angular application which should have all those routing and menu and drawer and grid and everything using Ignite UI CLI. So right here I have already installed Ignite UI CLI. Now to create a new project, I'll say IG new. I need to type this command IG new. Now it is asking me that what should be enter a name for your project. I'll say demo app. Then here it is asking me that choose a framework, whether you want Angular or jQuery or React. I want an Angular application, so I selected that and pressed enter. Then it is asking me that whether you want Ignite UI for Angular or Ignite UI for Angular wrappers. And here I take a minute to explain you what are these two options. Ignite UI for Angular are those Angular material-based native components, and Ignite UI Angular wrapper is that jQuery library if you want to use inside your Angular application. Keep in mind, Ignite UI for Angular are native components, so you don't need any external libraries. However, Ignite UI for Angular wrappers are jQuery-based library, so to work with that, you got to add jQuery dependency in your Angular project as well. The advantage of using Ignite UI Angular wrappers is that since it is an old project, it has more than 100 controls. However, Ignite UI for Angular does not have that many controls, but they are native Angular components. So I'll go ahead and select Ignite UI for Angular and press enter. So it has started that. Now it is asking me that complete and run, or add a component, or add a view. I'll say that, hey, add a component for me. Now it is asking me what type of component I want. I want layouts component, or scheduling components, or grid or list component. I'll say that, hey, add a grid and list component for me. Now it is asking me whether I want to add a grid or list. I'll say add a grid for me. It is asking me name of the component. I'll say that as product grid, or just product, right? Great. So here it has added a product component. Now it is asking me whether I want to run it or add another component. I would go here and say, hey, add another component for me. And this time I would say that go to list. And instead of grid, add a list. And let me call that list as a people list. Great. So I have added two components. One is grid component, product component, which is going to have a scaffolded grid, and another is a pure list component. And of course, I created an Angular project using Ignite UI for Angular native components. Now here I'll say that complete and run. When I click on complete and run, what it would do, it would install all those NPM packages which is required by my project. So it will take some time, maybe 30 seconds or a minute, depending on your internet speed. So what actually it is doing here, it is installing all those required npm packages to the project, and it will create the project, it will compile the project, it will run the project, and you can then you have a scaffolded application ready for you. So it will take 30 seconds. In the meantime, if you have any question, please feel free to use Q&A panel to ask your question. Please use Q&A panel to ask your question. In meantime, if you have any question, please use Q&A panel to ask your question, because it is going to take some time to install these NPM packages. Once it install all the packages, we can walk through that application which is running. So again, to summarize so far, that Ignite UI is a JavaScript-based library which helps you to build your high-performance web application faster. It has two flavors. One is Ignite UI for JavaScript, which you can use in any kind of application like Angular, React, ASP.NET, MVC, etc. Another is Ignite UI for Angular component. They are the native Angular components which you can use inside only, of course, Angular application, and they are material-based Angular application. Ignite UI CLI is a CLI which helps you to scaffold your web application faster. You have to install Ignite UI CLI, and after that you can just run a command IG new to build and to create an application. When you do that, it is a very messaging based, instruction based, very descriptive instruction based interface, in which IG new command will ask you to choose type of framework. It will ask you to choose to to give name of your application. It will ask you to add components if you are using Angular. Add views. When you select to add a component, it will ask you to whether you want to add a grid type of component or list type of component or scheduling type of component or layout type of component. You can choose all those. Once that is done, you can just say that in that complete and run. Once you when you run that command, it will install all npm packages, it will compile your application, it will build your application and run it for you. Depending on your internet speed, it will take time to install npm package. So let us wait for some second here. So here you see that messaging that it is saying that package installed successfully. After that, it is showing a starting project, and then it is trying to run the application using ng-serve, which is Angular CLI command. So it has some error. Oh, so the error is that port 4200 is already in use. So what I'm going to do here, I'll manually run this. So here is my project. I'll go to demo app and then say ng serve. I'll externally provide port number 4300. So by default, Ignite UI CLI tries to run your application on port 4200, and since and that is by default for Angular CLI as well. Since my application 4200 port was already in use, it was giving me that error that hey, I cannot run your application. So what I did, I manually used Angular CLI command ng-serve and provided port number to run my application. And here Webpack compiled successfully. So here, if I go to localhost and 4300 port, you see my application. My application should be here, and as you see that here is the scaffolded application. We added a option to add a product. So here is the product. Then we added an option to add a people. So here is the people. Here's the people list. If you go to product, this it is showing it. It has the pagination and everything. Go to people. Here you can go and search a contact. So it has Jonah and so the idea is that all the code got generated for you. Now only you need to, if you wish to, put your business requirement functionalities and even walk through these codes and start working, start building your project. It already has Ignite UI drawer added to that, which has routing added to that and everything. So next, what I'm going to do, let me go ahead and show you this code walkthrough, and then we'll go to next demo. So what I'm doing here, we created this project, and let us open that project in code. So here it is. Okay, so right now go to SRC. In the app folder, you see that already two components, people and product, has been added. If you go to product, it has some local data added. Then it has your product component.ts, which is the normal code got scaffolded, where it is reading the local data from employees data. Then you have HTML, where it is generating the it is reading that local data, and auto generate is set to true, pagination is set to true. So this code has been added. Of course, in next I'm going to show you that how you can configure columns and everything. But the idea is that it is very easy for you to scaffold your application. If I go to people, again it has these contacts created in, and then if you go to HTML, here we are using IGX list, then we are using pipe on top, using that we are filtering that list. The one thing which I want to show you is the home component. The home component .html, you see that we have here links container which has different links which we are clicking there. We are going to that particular link, particular component. And if you go to app.routing.com, app.routing model.ts, here we have created that already. Ignite UI has created routes for you, which is Angular routes, and this route inside app.component.ts is getting bind to IG drawer, which is here the code which got created for you, that it is reading all the top navigation links. Then it is reading this IG navigation drawer component, which we have added on component template, app component template as a view child. Then it is the constructor, it is iterating through the routes and then adding those inside that drawer. So this all code has been created for you such that you don't have to take care of your routing and everything. You just focus on your business requirement. So I request you that please go ahead and start looking into Ignite UI CLI more. If you have feedback or anything, you can go and create an issue here. You can go and request for new feature over here. So please go to github.com/igniteui/igniteui CLI to learn more about Ignite UI CLI. So this was the first part of this demo. Next, what I'm going to show you that how you can work with adding Ignite UI to an existing project. Here I'll take a 2-minute break, and if you have any queries, you can please use Q&A panel to ask me that question. Okay, so let us go to our next demo. Here, what we are going to learn step by step, that how we can work with Ignite UI in an existing project. So what I have done here, that already I have a project created using Angular CLI, and that project is right here. So this project has nothing. That's right now it has only few app component where it is Ignite UI app. I'll say Ignite UI app 2018. And let us go ahead and run this application. So we can run this application using ng-serve. So this is a project created using Angular CLI. So it is building that project. And if I go to, and here that application is running. Welcome to Ignite UI Apps 2018. Great. Now, what we are going to learn, that how we can add Ignite UI and grids and all those features in this existing app. So to do that, what first we need to do is, first we need to install Ignite UI Angular. So let us go ahead and say npm install Ignite UI Angular. Step 1 in your existing project, install Ignite UI Angular using npm. So first we are installing that. Once Ignite UI Angular is installed, what we'll do, we will install Hammer.js. Hammer.js is for touch and all. So we install Hammer.js. So again, if you are using Ignite UI CLI, you don't have to do all these. All these has been taken care by Ignite UI CLI. So here I'm installing Hammer.js. Once Hammer.js is installed, what you need to do, you need to go to angular.cli.json here, and here we need to add a style for Angular. So go to styles array and put this node modules ignite UI Angular styles ignite UI Angular.css, and also in the scripts folder, scripts array right here, we need to add uh, node modules hammer.js. So what I'm going to do, I'll take this right here in the scripts, add node modules hammer.js and hammer.min.js. Once that is added, go to style.css, and in style.css import uh, material icons, because Angular native components are based on that. Once that is done, what you need to do, you need to import hammer.js in main.ts. So right here, after your platform browser dynamic, you can go ahead and say import hammer.js. So these environment setup you got to do, you got to install Ignite UI Angular, then you got to install hammer.js, then you got to modify angular.cli.json, and then you got to modify main.ts, and of course style.css as well. Once that is done, you have added all those required Ignite UI things which you need to work with. Now let us say that quickly we want to add a grid in this application. So for that, what we will do, first we need to import the grid module. To go to app.module.ts, and here you say that, hey, import IG grid module from Ignite UI Angular main, and take this, go to again imports array, and say IG grid module dot, we want to import it into the main module, so we are calling for root. So here what I have done, in line number 3, I imported IGX grid module. Then in line number 18, I am just passing that inside imports array of app.module.ts. Once that is done, what we need to do, we need to create the data source to bind to the grid. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a local data source. So to do that, in the app component class, I'm going to add a function called get data, and this function get product, sorry, is returning me some products, which is product ID, product name, product code, and we are going to create a grid by reading this particular get product function. Great. Once that is done, what we are going to do, we are going to here call on init, and then we'll implement on init. Okay, and in the ng on init lifecycle hook, will make call to this get product, and here I'm going to have a data variable, and I say this dot data is equal to this dot get product. So here we have in ng on init, we have this dot data equal to this dot get product. So we are calling that function. All this should be inside that particular variable. Before we go ahead and say console.log and see that whether we are able to make call to that function successfully or not. So I'll just in the console, I'll log all the data which is coming from that get product function. So save all, and we'll go and run this application again using ngserve. And first we'll see that whether we are able to see that data in the console or not. So here it is saying that compiled successfully. Go back to our application, and if we press function F12, and here you see that we are getting the data from that function, so which is good. Next, what we got to do, we got to add grid to our application. And how we can add grid to our application? Go to template in the app component HTML, and here we can say that add IGX grid, give the name as grid1, ID as grid1, and data is set to products. So actually we got to go ahead and say this guy has products. Okay, so what we are saying that set data to products, set width to some value, height to some value, and auto generate true. When you say auto generate true, what happens is that it will automatically generate all the rows for you. So if everything is correct, we should have a grid in our application right now. So here you see that we have grid, which is added here, and that has this product ID, product name, product code, release date. So right now, what it is doing, it is automatically generating rows for you. It is giving you these it does not have any features enabled, and it is giving you these headers as name of your column. Now, what if you don't want all those, you don't want all these JSON object columns to be part of a grid, and we want to configure these columns independently? In that case, what we got to do, we got to configure the columns. To configure the columns, first you need to make sure that auto generate is set to false. And after that, how you can configure columns is, let me take this guy again and say IGX grid here auto generated is false, and then focus on line number 11 where we are using IGX column. We are setting width, we are saying that field is equal to product ID. So here this product ID should be same to this column name. Because you want to display this particular property of JSON object in this particular column. Then header is ID. This whatever you write here would be displayed as a header. Then data type of that particular column is a string, which we are saying. In the same way, we have product name, product code, release date, price, star rating, and image URL. So here we can say header is not title. Instead of this title, let us say I'm saying header is title 99. Now if go back here and see, you see that we have this now application where grid is running. If you notice on header, it has title 99, then ID, code. We don't have description because we have not configured a column for that. And here the data is getting displayed. Now, if you look into the last column, that image, what it is doing, it is displaying that image URL in that particular column. Let us say we don't want to display that URL, but instead of that, what we want to display that image. And how we can do that? For that, Ignite UI Grid has something called a column template, and we can very much use that here to convert that URL to an image. So let us go here, remove this image URL now, and say that, hey, we want to use a template. So right here, you see that what I'm saying in line number 18, I have added a column for image where field is image URL, data type is string, and below that I'm adding an ng template for that particular cell. And what I'm saying that, hey, inside that put a image with the width 50 ps, and source is set to cell.row data to image URL. And if you remember, image URL is the name of the property, and what it will do, it will now convert that URL to some image. So if you now notice here, now we have in application, instead of that URL, we have image as well. So what we have seen here, that how you can work with local data source, how you can create a template, how you can set height to width, how you can work with with column templates. Now let us say on the very same application, if you want to enable some features like pagination, and how you can do that is very simple to do that. To enable a pagination, what all you need to do, you need to set two properties. So go to grid. In the grid, I'll say that, hey, what you do is set two properties, paging equal to true, and per page I want two records. I have just set that in line number 9. What I'm saying that, hey, set paging to true and per page show me two records. Now if I go here, you see that it is showing me two records now, and if I scroll down, it has the pagination enabled. Now let us say you don't want this pagination template, right? Like you want something different instead of that, what you see here as the pagination template. You can very much configure pagination template as well. And how you can do that, go here and say that, hey, add a template called my template, where this is the way, like current page, then input type number, total page, and other stuff. And since we are using ng model here, so what we got to do, we got to add forms module. So go to app.module.ts and let us go and add, these three modules which we need in our application, like forms module and HTTP module and all. So right here, I'll go and say that, hey, add this forms module, HTTP client module, and browser animation module. We need forms module because we are using ng module, HTTP client module because I'm going to show you that how you can make call to REST API, and browser animation module, which we need in case of sorting and filtering. So here I have added that, and let us go ahead and pass them to imports array, forms module, and then browser module, HTTP module, and browser animation module. We are set. So right now what I'm doing in this, that I have created a template. I have given the template name as my template, and then I have put some input type, total pages, current pages. What you can notice here that you have something called paginate function. Whenever the model changes for that input type, a grid paginate will be called and it will take the event and work for you. Now what we need to do, we need to attach that template to the grid, and for that you have a property called pagination template. So go to grid here you have created this ng template called my template. Go to grid here and say that, hey, for pagination, add something called pagination template and set that value to my template right here. And if I go down, you see that here your template, pagination template has been changed to some value, some different UI. If you want some complex template, that we can also do. So I'll go and get rid of this, and instead of that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a little bit complex template. So for that, I've added here what I'm saying that, hey, if paging and total pages is greater than 0, then show that button. Otherwise, don't show that. Otherwise, don't show that button. Then disable that button. Otherwise, enable that button. And here you see that in line number 35, I'm checking that this button is disabled if it is grid first page. In line number 39, I'm checking that this button is disabled if it is grid last page, and so on. What message I'm trying to convey you here is that grid has all these properties exposed to you, like each first page, each last page, then the functions like page unit, functions like next page, previous page, and all, which you can use to create a custom pagination template. Of course, you can call all these functions through your API as well. So here I have this ng template, and if I go, and already the name of this is also my template, and I have set that pagination to my template, I'm getting some error because I'm using here IGX icon, which I need to import to my application. So let me go here and import that. So app module.ts, and here I'll say that IGX this and IGX icon module, and right here you can import that. So I imported that. Now if we go here, You see that application has some different type of look and feel, and this we have just created it. So this is how you can create a custom template for pagination. I'm sorry. So what I'm going to do here now, let me show you that how you can work with pagination at the code behind. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of this pagination template. We are going to work with the default, and we'll say that per page 2 and pagination is true. So now it is back to the default pagination template. Now what if we want a button? Let us say that in our application, in the bottom, we want a button right here after everything, and that button is saying that jump to rows, something like that. And when we click on this button, we should able to jump to row 1. So here I have a button called jump to rows. What I want that whenever I click on this button, I should be able to jump to the first row of my first page of my grid. So here I have done this go to that particular button. Next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a function called go to rows, which is inside this app.component.ts. Okay, now you see that what I'm doing, I need to read that grid which we have created here, uh, right here. I need to read that grid inside my code, and then I can call grid1.paginate, and then I can pass the page where I want to move on that particular button click. Now to read that grid, since that grid is being used inside that particular component template, there's a concept of Angular called view child. So I'm going to read that grid as a view child, and for that what you got to do, first import IGGridX component, and then to read that we'll say view child, and then we have to import view child as well from the Angular core. So here it is view child, and what we are doing that we are reading that grid as a view child, and then we are calling this .grid1.paginate 0. So it will take us to the first page when we click on button of that particular button on the page. So let us take this. Right now it is on the first page, right? You see that we have 1 and 2 rows displayed. I'll go to next page. Now it is 2 and 3, 5, 8, and then I'll go to the next page. So right now we have only one ID, one row is displayed. I click on jump to rows. It should take us to first row because we are passing 0 into grid.pagination. And you see that we have come to the first page here. So what I was trying to show you that you can very much control pagination through API or on the HTML as well. So this was all about pagination. We just saw that how you can enable pagination and how easy it is to do that, how you can work with custom pagination template and all. Now let us next see that how we can work with filtering. So to do that, we click this and so let me see that how we can work with filtering. So to do filtering, you can enable either filtering on the whole grid or you can enable filtering on a particular column. If I wish to enable filtering on a particular column, what I got to do, I got to use a property called filterable. So go ahead to app.component.html and let us say that you want to enable filtering for product name. So right here you can say that, hey, set filterable to true. Once we have set that on product name, and let me just get rid of pagination now, such that we have all the records listed there. So now we have enabled filterable on product name columns. I have all this record here, and you see that for product name, which is title 99, let me change it to title only. We don't need title 99. Okay, so we have now filter enabled on this title. You see that there is no this particular ripple effect on other columns. However, it is on title. So when you click on this, it will give you option, these menu option. I can say that contains, show me if it contains something called leaf. And you see that it is showing me only one record. I'll say filter, it is showing me only one record. I can very much go here and say that, hey, reset it, and it has different options like it starts with, so we can say starts with S. It is showing us that that element which starts with S, then it has null, not null, empty, not empty, these many options. So this is how easy it is to work with filters on the columns. Of course, like pagination, you can apply filter through the API in the component class as well. Once filtering is done, let us see that how we can work with sorting. Again, sorting is also very simple. Just if you want to enable sorting on a particular column, let us say if you want to enable sorting on product ID, what we'll do, we'll go here and say that, hey, make sortable is equal to true. And keep in mind, it has many options. You can go and read the documentation and use as you want. So right now we have on the product ID, we made sortable to true. So here is filtering is working for us. Go to ID and you see that it is sorting on as we are clicking on that on the ID. However, for the other columns, it is not enabled. Keep in mind, you can enable sorting or filtering on the whole grid as well, and you really don't need to do it for each individual columns. So this is the way you can enable sorting. This is where you can have filtering, and we saw the pagination. So this is pretty much I do have for today. We learned about Ignite UI CLI. Then we saw that how we can add IGX grid in a project. Then we did not see REST API, but we saw it's as simple as that. You call a REST API in any Angular project using HTTP service and bind that to Ignite UI Grid. Then we saw that how to enable sorting, paging, and filtering and features. And then in the people demo, I saw you that how easy it is to work with the last set of data. So when I go here in the people, trust me, it is working with now 75,000 rows. I have not done any extra code, but all I have done, I have just set height of the property, height of the grid, and it has enabled virtualization for that particular grid. So this is what I have today, and if you have any queries, you can send email to dkumar@infragistics.com, and you can download free trial of all things on infragistics.com/products/Ignite UI Angular. I hope this webinar was useful to you. If you have any queries, please write me back. If any sales query, you can send email to us, and I will get back to you on the same as well. And I hope you find this webinar useful. Thank you so much. I'll open it for question and answer. If there's no question and answer questions, we will stop the webinar in a few minutes. Once again, thank you so much for attending the webinar. I look forward to see you in the next webinar. Thank you so much.